At the end.
Yeah, there's questions.
There's questions you can use.
Okay, we are live.
Okay. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I'll call this committee of the whole meeting for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 to order. Begin in a good way by acknowledging with gratitude that we live and work on the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish. These people say stewards of these lands and waters surrounding the Nicolewan, Bowen Island. First item on the agenda, I will look to is approval of the agenda. I'll look to our corporate officer for the addition of any late items here this afternoon.
There are no late items.
No late items. With that, I will look for a motion to adopt the agenda. Please. Moved by Councilor Wade, seconded by Councilor Fast. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. And then moving on to public comments. So I noticed that we've got some folks in the gallery and then some other people online today. I'll look to our corporate officer for any public comments that are folks would like to make before we begin, either in person or online.
I don't have anyone registered, but if anyone on the Zoom meeting is interested in having something to say during public comments, please raise your digital hand.
I will note that item 5 on the agenda is a question period where any member of the public may ask questions of the content and agenda that was presented here today. No one online? Okay. We will move right into it. Section 4 staff reports. 4.1 utilities 5-year financial plan. We have Krista Watson, our chief financial officer, and Sarah Kosari, our director of engineering, joining us here today. Over to the both of you.
Thank you.
So our corporate officer has a slideshow that she's going to run on our behalf, and we will speak to the slides as they go by. Thank you. Okay. So first slide, please. Thank you. So welcome to the Committee of the Whole for today, February 17th. I'll just quickly run through the purpose of the presentation today. We're going to provide an overview of each of the systems. We're going to introduce some of the underlying budget assumptions that preface the entire 5-year plan. We'll discuss some of the issues that are unique in each system. I'll present the operations budget and capital projects for each system, and recommend the user rate and parcel tax amounts for 2026. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about the basis for every budget. Fundamental to each budget, and it is included in the report that you have on page 6, is the allocation of administrative overhead costs to the utility system. So the water system budgets, they include an allocation of administrative overhead. So those are things like technology costs, postage and office expenses for sending out bills. It's a portion of the finance and engineering administrative staff salary. So a portion of Sarah's salary, a portion of my salary. Asset management plan costs are allocated between general fund and water funds. The water funds hold a significant value of assets within the municipality. So it's fitting then that they are going to be required to fund some of the asset management plan development costs. Again, audit fees, there's a portion of audit fees and liability insurance premiums that are allocated out to the water systems, as well as the costs of operating the facility maintenance, like down at the works yard and such. So if you do refer to page 6 of the budget report, there's very detailed information about the amounts and how those costs are allocated. Next slide, please. As well, water system budgets include indirect expenses. So they are charged for the cost of vehicles and fuel maintenance and insurance. They're charged for the costs of training and professional development for the utility staff. Of course, a portion of small tools and equipment that are purchased by and for water use in the water systems. Travel expenses for those staff conducting business on municipal business. And cell phones, some of the staff are provided with a dedicated cell phone. So where there are direct costs, we charge them directly to the system. So for example, this year, there are some additional direct costs that will be incurred on behalf of the Cove Bay system, such as some extra training and travel related to the operations of the water treatment plant. In those cases, they are, that time is going to be charged directly to Cove Bay. It would be something that is overall just general professional development training that would be shared by. So there are cases, of course, where we have extraordinary expenses that go directly to the system. Next slide, please. Where we are allocating on sort of a general formula, the basis of allocation is that we allocate costs on a pro rata basis based on the number of properties in each system. So that means that for all of these costs, Cove Bay shoulders about 52% of them, whereas Eagle Cliff is responsible for about 8.4% of them. Now, this year we are combining the costs of the three West Side districts, meaning King Edward Bay, Cove Bay, King Edward Bay, Blue Water Park, and Bowen Bay. Together, those three systems represent 21.3% of the number of properties within the entire utility areas. Next slide, please. Again, in our 5-year financial plan report, there is a schedule which details the allocation of labor and the FTEs that are charged to each system based on this general allocation formula. You can find that on page 3 of the report. For the two systems that have their own treatment plants, so the sewer and Cove Bay water treatment plant, there is one operator position that is split equally between the two of them. And the rest of the positions are allocated according to that general allocation formula. When it comes to administrative staff, the director of engineering, 40% of their salary is allocated to utilities. There is a dedicated utilities coordinator administrative position that is charged 100% to utilities, and then an allocation of the chief financial officer's salary at a 0.2. So that's in recognition that there are other staff who do significant amount of work on water systems. For example, finance administrative staff spend a lot of time to prepare the water bills, mail them, send them out, answer utility related questions on the phone. But all of that is captured within the 0.2% allocation of the chief financial officer salary. So we do that to kind of simplify the process a little bit and also make sure that there's a lot of continuity from year to year. What we don't want is different basis for allocation changing from year to year, because that creates a lot of we like to smooth it over the course.
You can see the trends.
Exactly, yeah. Thank you. Next slide, please. Some of the costs that are charged directly to each system would be in the case of an extraordinary event that resulted in a lot of overtime. For example, the big break on Valhalla last year. Any of the overtime that resulted from that significant event is captured and charged directly to that system. Also, hydrant maintenance is reported and charged directly to the systems because actually some of the systems don't have fire hydrants, so we don't charge that labor to do the maintenance on those systems. And also the actual property insurance premiums, they're not split or shared among water systems. Those are charged directly to each system. Next slide, please. Thanks. So this new model with the West Side water system, it's based on 280 connections across the 3 districts. And this is being done because now with the big Blue Water Park upgrade to the water main and the well project has been completed, they now have an integrated water supply, treatment, and storage assets. So all of the operating costs between these 3 systems will now be shared based on the number of properties in each system. So the one thing that will continue to stay with each of the 3 local service areas are, again, the cost of major repairs to the water mains. We have 3 systems with water mains that are in relatively different states of condition. So the cost to repair those water mains will continue to rest with the independent local service areas. And of course, the cost of hydrant maintenance, because Boa Bay does not have hydrants itself. So those things will continue to be charged to the original local service. Next slide, please. Also, as a result of this integration of the 3 water systems, we have set up a brand new statutory reserve fund, and we're holding that within the general fund of the municipality. So all of the transactions in and out of that fund will be immediately visible within the financial statements of the municipality. So it's being set up, it's being funded through equal contributions for each property owner in the combined area. And these funds are going to be going forward what's used to finance the capital renewal and replacement of those shared assets. So the supply assets, the treatment assets, and the storage assets. So those are the wells, the reservoirs, and the treatment equipment. Next slide, please. Something that is always a driving cost behind every budget is, of course, labor costs. They typically make up, oh, we lost that, sorry. Okay, thanks. They typically make up approximately 1/3 of all of the budgets, and they're a significant cost driver. So just to let you know, the municipality's collective agreement with its unionized staff expired in December 2025. So we expect that there will be negotiations beginning later this year in order to negotiate the new contract. And just from what we've heard out there from other municipalities within the Lower Mainland, that the settlements are coming in somewhere in the range of 3 to 4%. Next slide, please. So one of the significant projects that is impacting all of the water systems equally this year, or all of the water systems based on their general allocation formula, is that we are proposing to undertake a water master plan this year. So the cost of this water master plan could be up to $325,000. We do expect to prepare and seek grant funding to help offset some of the costs of this. But I'm gonna let Sarah speak to the water master plan in a bit, but the funding source that we have included in the 5-year financial plan for utilities is $120,000 coming directly from all of the water system funds based on that general allocation formula. $80,000 from community works funds. So those are granted to the municipality each year. They are also known as our gas tax funds, and they're meant to support infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, any type of municipal infrastructure. And we are hoping to seek anywhere from $70,000 to $200,000 of grant funds in order to fund this program. So I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Good afternoon. So today we are presenting the utility local services area portion of the 2026-2030 financial/capital plan. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is not simply a rate adjustment presentation. This is a stabilization and risk management plan for the Bowen Island water and wastewater system. Bowen Island municipality operates 7 independent water systems and 1 wastewater treatment plant, as President mentioned. Each system has a different source, age profile, regulatory conditions, and financial reserve capacity. Many of these systems were originally constructed as improvement districts and later transferred to the municipality. We are now managing infrastructures that in many cases are over 40 years old. They are between 40 to 60 years old. Over the past several years, we have been transitioning from reactive infrastructure management to a structural risk-based management. This budget reflects that shift. Across our systems, we are facing 4 primary challenges. First, aging infrastructure, as I mentioned. Second, increasing strict regulatory requirements, particularly around drinking water quality and wastewater discharge. Third, climate related risks, and drought and extreme rainfall events during the winter time, drought during the summertime. And fourth, limited reserve capacity in several systems that we have, which constrains our ability to address emerging risk proactively. This financial plan begins addressing those pressure in a coordinated way. Currently, water infrastructure planning is largely undertaken system by system rather than looking at it as one whole system. So this reactive approach increases the risk of misaligning capital spending and inadequate rate impacts. The island-wide water master plan will create a single climate-ready planning framework for us. It will integrate regulatory compliance, asset conditions, conservation planning, and financial sustainability into one coordinated roadmap. This will allow council to make evidence-based decisions and improves our eligibility for provincial and federal infrastructure. I just wanted to mention that I'm very grateful to Mrs. Watson, our CFO, in preparation for supporting me in preparing this plan and presentation. This was my first time working on the financial plan for utilities, and her help was very appreciated. So the island-wide water master plan will be delivered in 2 phases. So the phase 1 is going to look at all of our water system, Cove Bay, Hood Point, Tunstall, West Side, and Eagle Cliff. And the second is going to be, and in that, the phase 1 focuses on producing a costed capital roadmap for the next 10 to 30 years. The phase 2 of this expands the review to include private water systems and groundwater resources across the island. This phase does not change regulatory authority and or impose any new requirements. Instead, it provides high-level screening and integrates finding with the Grafton Lake Watershed Management Plan. This will improve overall water sustainability and long-term resilience for the systems. So when it comes to the costing, I just wanted to mention that these costing are just cost estimate, order of magnitude. I have not prepared the RFP, so I haven't put it in the market. I don't know how much it's going to cost exactly. This is just based on whatever is in the market. As Kristen mentioned, we are allocating $325,000, and basically this is going to be the whole budget if we receive 2 grants that we already applied for it, Eco Action Plan grant, and also there was another grant that we applied for. If we don't get those plans, we need to scale down and just do some overall water master planning. Usually what I do when it comes to putting the RFP out in the market is that I usually ask for the whole scope of work and ask the consultants, the expertise, to give us the line items. And then we are going to strategize it this way, that if we get the grants, we are going to go full scope. If we don't get those grants, we are going to scale down. So this is how we are looking at the cost and funding. And when it comes to the schedule, again, this is a 2-phased project, and we are envisioning that in Q1 and Q2 2026, We will complete scoping and procurement. Phase one municipality systems assessment will be Q3 2026. And phase two private systems and groundwater will be Q1 to Q2 2027. Integration of the fundings into the 2027 capital planning cycle will occur in Q2 Q3 2027. So importantly, this is not just a report for us. We are looking into it. The intent is directly to shape our capital prioritization and rate planning and reserve strategy moving forward. So with that, I go through each water system one by one. So the first one is Cove Bay water system, which is the backbone of municipal water service on Bowen. It serves more than half of all the connections, including Snob Cove Commercial Core. Water comes from Grafton Lake with 660-acre watershed and over 300,000 cubic meters of storage. We are required to maintain a minimum downstream environmental release at all times. This system also provides fire protection across multiple pressure zones. It is our most complex and highest risk system. Much of the system and infrastructure dated back decades, and it includes aging mains, exposed supply lines, and limited redundancy. So I just wanted to bring this up that, the system, the Cove Bay water system, behaves differently during the summertime and winter time. As you know better than me, during the winter time, we receive a lot of rainwaters, and so we don't have much of a problem with the quantity. But during the summertime, due to the evaporation and demand for water and the spill that we need to let go through the system, we have quantity problems. So as you know, we do have one water treatment plant to serve the Cove Bay water system. We just released a status for this treatment plan. The Cove Bay water treatment plant has experienced performance challenges related to the ceramic infiltration modules. While initial repairs showed improvement, turbidity performance remains inconsistent under certain operating conditions. Municipal staff, consultants, and equipment supplier are coordinating troubleshooting and operator training and sequencing adjustments. Our objective for this plan is full operational stability and regulatory reliability. There are several high priority infrastructure risks in the Cove Bay system. The Carter Road Bridge water main is in poor condition and represents a single point failure of the entire system. Several asbestos cement mains are over 50 years old and have severe connections. That water improperly, that water sometimes leaks from them. Some pressure reducing valves are outdated and we need to maintain them, and they are very difficult to maintain. There are fire flow limitations due to undersized mains and storage capacities. I talked about the challenges. Now, what are our plans to address those challenges? So this slide summarizes the highest priority capital investment required to stabilize and protect the Cove Bay water system. These projects are not expansion projects. These are just reliability and risk reduction investment for the system. The first and most critical project is Carter Road Bridge, as I mentioned. This is estimated at $500,000, which is scheduled for April 2026. The line supply to entire Cove Bay system, it is aging, encased in. So this is related to the Carter Road. I don't think we need to go through it more than this. So the second priority is PRV replacement. Again, the number there is order of magnitude.
What is PRV?
Pressure reducing valve.
Thank you.
Yeah. So these PRV systems, again, this is order of magnitude. We need to go back to the market and find out what exactly cost us to repair the PRV systems. And then what we are going to do, one of the most important capital projects in the Cove Bay water system is looking at improvement of the capacity of the system. So as we mentioned in the status of the Cove Bay water treatment plant, we hired a consultant to work on the intake flush. And that was not a big contract, only $20,000. That's why it didn't come to the council. So we are looking at very cheap, however, efficient way to first clear the water intake that brings the water into the water treatment plant. There are many sediments there that can be get out of the system by that flushing. The next phase of this project will be looking at other ways to increase the capacity of the system. So working with consultants on looking at different technologies to bring it to the system to increase the water treatment plant. So if you look at what we asked for $150,000, but from that $150,000, only $20,000 is already allocated to the water intake flush, and the rest will be for the phase 2 of the project, looking at increasing the capacity of the system. Over to Kristen.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So I'll just take a minute to kind of go through the financial results and the budget with you for Cove Bay. There were some significant deviations from budget plan this year. First of all, with the labor, there's a $20,000 variance there in the labor costs. Looking into that, it's mostly related to those extraordinary events where they get charged specifically to a system. Also, given that there is one staff person who 50% of their entire salary goes to Cove Bay, anytime that there's any deviations in that one particular individual salary, it's going to show up. It's going to be magnified because it isn't distributed among so many different systems. For the supplies and services line, we had a $35,000 increase in variance. Some of that was related to the cost to engage the consultant who's working on commissioning and troubleshooting the Cove Bay water treatment plant. I have expected that some of those will continue, but hopefully going forward, these system problems are going to be resolved with the new consultant contract that we're seeking to let, and it's showing up in the capital budget. Legal insurance and audit, we had some additional expenditures in that line item this year. I do anticipate that we should need to put some provision in that line item for next year as well. utilities, now that we have brought the second module online, we are starting to see the full impact of the additional costs that relate to operating that treatment plant at full capacity. So that too, the utilities, we do anticipate will continue and be increased in 2026, and we need to provide provision for that. And as well, lastly, which I was not aware of was happening, but the long-term debt in Cove Bay, which was issued in 2021, I expect that they're typically issued for 10 years before they reset and they are refinanced at the current rate. Given that this one was let during COVID when there were some extraordinary interest rates, rates being offered out there, I understand that it was just a 5-year debt before it reset. So that has been reset, and for the next term, we are going to see some increased costs to our debt, our interest and loan repayments within Cove Bay on that long-term debt for the water treatment plant. So that's adding about an extra $10,000 a year to the operating budget as well. So in 2026, you see there's a transfer from surplus or reserve fund. So that is equal to the Cove Bay contribution to the water management plan that is being taken out of reserves. As well, I have, like I said, I have continued to add those increased costs for utilities, for hydro, and for legal and additional supplies. Going to the next slide, please. And in order to address those increased costs, we are recommending that the rates be increased by about 8% this year. So that will see the flat rate go from 303 per billing period to 367 per billing period, as well as an 8% increase to the variable rates. Now, we're starting with 8% in year one and increasing them each year thereafter by a minimum of 5%. And that is to, again, some of the annual operating costs of that water treatment plant. We haven't seen them yet. We haven't had the treatment plant working at 100% capacity. So I am cautious that potentially we could see additional operating costs as that plant is remedied and is coming online and operating full capacity. Next slide, please. I put together a schedule to show what the impact of that change in user rates would be on a typical user. So on the left-hand side, there's a consumption listed in gallons per day, ranging from 46 to 275 gallons per day. If we want to say that a typical household with 2.3 people in it would consume somewhere about 137 gallons per day, the impact to these rate increases would be about $90 per year, and that is an average change of 8%. Now, the one difference in Cove Bay that is different from the other water systems, and why I think that we need to do a little bit of research into what other munis do, is because there's a diversity of uses within the Cove Bay district that doesn't exist in the other water systems. So the other water systems are all residential, they're all apples to apples comparison, but with Cove Bay, you've got multifamily properties, you've got the commercial properties, you've got this diversity of use, which means perhaps that the one size fits all rate structure maybe doesn't work for Cove Bay. And I think that we should take the time to have that discussion and do some research to find out what other municipalities with diverse land uses like that do. But otherwise, I would say, hey, let's just adopt the rate structure that we have on the west side, because equity reasons, for efficiency reasons, for simplicity of setting rates and billing purposes, it makes it very easy. But I do think that we just need to take a pause and do a little bit of more research into it before we make those changes. Yeah, thanks. Financial strategy for Cove Bay. I wanted to just share what the Cove Bay rate is based on all of the other systems. So as you can see, it kind of sits right in the middle. So if you said that we measured consumption at 100 gallons per day per household, what those annual charges would be across all of the water systems, Cove Bay is right in the middle with 1,188. Those west side systems would be paying about 1,491. Eagle Cliff is a little bit lower at 1,013, and Hood Point again, lower at 993. So our work continues to harmonize and bring the rates in line with each other. But as I mentioned, there are some questions that just need to be addressed before we get there. Next slide, please. That being said, given the challenges and the added costs that we have in Cove Bay, I do think we need to raise more money. That's why I am suggesting that we do put in a new parcel tax, a flat $80 per property parcel tax. It will raise approximately $58,000 per year. And we need this. It's going to be required to augment our reserve funds in the Cove Bay water system. I think we should collect it as a tax that makes it eligible for property tax deferral, thereby potentially reducing the burden of that by those people who may access the property tax deferral program. But I'm looking at the, it's funny how that 2030 the fund balance with the proposed capital projects in Cove Bay this year, it's going to draw down their reserve funds by over $700,000, leaving them with $200,000 in the reserve funds, which for a water system of the size of Cove Bay is scary. It is absolutely not enough money to have. So we really do need to begin the process to rebuild that reserve fund. So let's start with implementing a new parcel tax. So that's why I've recommended that that be brought in this year. Next slide, thanks. And again, looking at where Cove Bay sits on the spectrum of parcel taxes across the entire municipality, Cove Bay has, for a typical homeowner, is paying $258 per year in debt service parcel taxes, and just $80 added onto it would bring it to $338. Now, the Cove Bay does have a different structure of parcel taxes in that the commercial properties, the multifamily properties are paying more than the $258, but for the typical homeowner, the typical residential homeowner, the parcel tax is set at $258. Now, looking across where that sits on the scale, of course, Blue Water Park will be looking at the parcel tax this year to address the debt that has been incurred to undertake the Blue Water project. So their parcel tax will be looking at about $1,200, but across the system, $338 seems reasonable given the levels of parcel tax among the other water systems. Next slide, please. Okay, we're on to the point now, so I'll turn it back to you, Sarah.
Thank you. So the Hood Point is a very small system contained on the northeast side of the Bon Island. It serves 98 connected properties and provides fire protection through 10 hydrants. The system draws water from the Honeymoon Lake, located about 2.7 kilometers away from the water system. The water licenses are held by the municipality in trust on behalf of property owners. All services are metered. Looking at their treatment plant, Hood Point, as I mentioned, is supplied by Honeymoon Lake, which is a surface water source, naturally very rich in organic material. The existing treatment system includes media filtration, UV disinfection, and chlorination. These processes are effective at managing pathogens and maintaining safe distribution system residuals. However, the system was not originally designed for reduction and removal of the organic materials. So, which is the key drive behind the disinfection byproduct challenges that we see at the Hood Point right now. So I also wanted to flag another challenge with this system is that the above ground supply main from Honeymoon Lake is vulnerable to freezing during the extreme cold events. When freezing occurs, supply must be supplemented from the adjacent Eagle Cliff water system. This is not a long-term resilient solution for the community. So again, because this is a relatively small standalone system with limited storage and redundancy, it always faces structural constraints unless integrated into a larger framework. So initially, we recommended proceeding with a structured planning and pilot study in 2026, estimated at approximately $250,000 to address the disinfection byproduct at the Hood Point water system. That work would have evaluated comprehensive cost to look at the carbon filtrated options for removing organic matters before chlorination. However, following the recent community presentation that I had for the Hood Point services, there was some meaningful interest in the exploring whether Hood Point can be connected to the integrated system, to other systems on the Bowen Island. And we were thinking this might be an option if we go through the water master plan and the Grafton Lake watershed management plan and see if there is a possibility to add another 100 residents to the Grafton Lake. And again, these are all possibilities and assumptions that we are making, but this is one way toward solving the problem of the infrastructure at the Hood Point and also THMs and HHAs, the problem that they have there. Anyways, again, because of that, I wanted to put hold on putting the RFP for looking at Hood Point water treatment systems isolated from other systems until we do the water master plan and Grafton Lake watershed system and see what are the results and if there is any options for the Hood Point there. Again, these are assumptions that I'm making through this capital planning, and I'm open to the suggestions, but for the time being, I think the first priority should be looking at the water master plan, and maybe there is a chance to integrate their system. To you, Kristen.
Thanks, next slide, thanks. Looking at Hood Point's results of their 2025 fiscal year and looking ahead to the budget for 2026. There's no surprises in Hood Point this year. They came in every expense line item came very close to what we had budgeted. Those provisions that we had for additional services or additional repairs and maintenance, we didn't end up needing. So they ended up being able to make $34,000 higher than the budgeted $50,000 contribution to the reserve. So that was good news. In 2026, the budget has been prepared on the same basis as was prepared in 2025. We just have an increase in the transfer to the general fund, and that is in respect of the Hood Point's contribution for this new water master plan project. Next slide, please. Hood Point has had a very systematic year-over-year increase of their rates and their parcel taxes by 4% each year. We're not suggesting that we should deviate from that pattern in any way, so we are recommending to go forward with that steady 4% increase into the user rates and to the parcel taxes. until we have a better sense of what is going to happen from a capital project perspective in that water system. The rate to 2025 was 955, so the recommended rate for 2026 is 993. Woodpoint is the only system with a flat rate system. Next slide, please. And for the parcel taxes then for Woodpoint for 2026, we would recommend with the 4% increase that the connected properties go from 478 annually per parcel to 497 per parcel. And for unconnected properties, they would be 230, going from 239 per parcel to 249 per parcel. We expect to collect almost $52,000 as a result of the parcel taxes, which is contributed to their reserve fund and used at such time that it's needed to fund capital projects. Going on to Tunstall Bay, please.
And the Tunstall Bay water system is located on southwest side of the Bowen Island, serving the coastal neighborhood around Tunstall Bay and White Sails Drive. It serves 144 properties, including 133 connected and 11 unconnected parcels. Originally constructed around 1970 as an improvement district. The system was transferred to the municipality in 2023. Following incorporation, the system is groundwater based and supplied primarily by wells 1A and 1B, which operates year round. Additional supply is provided by well 6A and 6B with seasonal supplementation from shallow well number 4 near the Explosive Creek. Water is chlorinated at source and where required undergoes sand filtration, membrane filtration, UV disinfection, and dosing of the chlorine to meet Vancouver coastal health requirements. The system includes 2 treated water storage tanks, 227 cubic meter concrete reservoir, and a 595 cubic meter glass steel tank completed in 2023. Distribution is divided into 3 pressurized zones managed by PRV stations. So from the regulatory standpoint, the wells have been classified as groundwater at risk of pathogens or GARB. As a result, UV disinfection is required for compliance. Filtration is not currently required, provided UV systems are properly installed and operated. So if you have UV systems, we don't need filtration for the system. So in 2023, 2 significant water main failures occurred along White Sails Drive due to shallow installation and poor bedding, unfortunately. A replacement of this approximately 80-meter section is recommended and planned to be coordinated with a road rehabilitation plan. Looking ahead, priority capital projects include construction of a new UV and chlorination shed near the reservoir in 2027. Again, this 350 is order of magnitude. We should go to the market and get the estimated pricing for 2027. And, you know, also we put the replacement of the water main for 150K. Again, we need to go to the market in 2026 and find out what exactly will cost us in 2027 to replace the water mains. Over to Kristen.
Thanks. Looking at Tunstall Bay's financial results for 2025 and the budget development for 2026, it looks like the water system again came in very close to what was what was budgeted. There was significant savings on the supplies and services and that enabled some additional, those savings from all of those little budget line items enabled a larger contribution than had been budgeted to the reserve fund. So that was good news. The 2026 budget is being prepared on the same basis, so there's no significant surprises in there. One of the big features of Tunstall Bay is the outstanding water tank loan. So in 2022, $655,000 was borrowed in order to fund construction of this large water reservoir tank. So that is all been funded through short-term financing through the Municipal Finance Authority. So that is what that means. It's like a line of credit loan, so it's not fixed interest and principal payments each year. We can pay down as much as we want. So we have been aggressively paying that down at $100,000 a year. And that loan will come due, must be fully repaid by September 2027. So the municipality is going to have to in-term finance about $76,000 in order to pay off the principal before the end of 2027. And as soon as 2028 comes, those funds will be repaid by the parcel tax that's collected in Tunstall Bay in 2028. So it's a very short bridging loan that is needed from the general fund to Tunstall Bay in order to meet that deadline to pay off that water tank loan by September 2026. After that payment is made to fully repay the borrowing for the water tank loan, we'll have to review at that point. Is it indicated that we should probably continue some sort of parcel tax in Tunstall Bay in order to help augment reserves in that water district? We'll see. I haven't budgeted to continue the parcel tax because that was not what was communicated to the community. It was communicated that it was needed to pay off this loan. But it is worthwhile having a conversation and engaging the community and just showing them that indeed to continue the parcel tax, perhaps not at $655 per year, perhaps something lower, but something to just continue to augment those reserves. And again, splitting it between water rates and property taxes gives that ability to access the property tax deferral program for those who are eligible and those who choose to do so. Okay, next slide, please. So Tunstall Bay, the user rates being recommended are a small increase to the flat rate, which is charged quarterly, so they're billed 4 times a year. The current flat rate component of every bill is $340, and I'm recommending that it be increased slightly to $350 per quarter, and then some more increases to the variable rates. We'd like to see these happen in a progressive structure so that for that water, or so that the greatest cost burden of the change it falls on that discretionary use rather than charging water that's needed for essential daily living being subject to the same increases. So by implementing these changes, it shifts the burden of increasing rates on those properties that consume at the higher end. So next slide, please. So the impacts that could be expected from the recommended user rate changes in Tunstall Bay, if we look at somebody who is consuming at a property that's consuming at 125 gallons per day, that is, you can see on the left-hand column, there's what someone would expect to be charged based on consumption ranging from 0 per day up to 200 gallons per day. So if we take someone in the middle that's consuming at about 125 gallons per day, again, that's kind of representative of a typical residential property. The impact to that person's bill over the course of the year would be about $75, and that is an increase of about 4.6% year over year. Next slide, please. I spoke to the parcel tax, so I'm not recommending that parcel taxes be changed. We just keep them where they're at until that loan is repaid in 2027 and fully repaid to the general fund in 2028. Next slide, please. And that takes us to Eagle Fund.
Thank you. Eagle Cliff serves 111 residential properties on the east side of the Boyne Island. The system relies on a 2 million gallons open surface water reservoir supplied by Harn Creek, supplemented by 2 deep groundwater wells. The reservoir is unlined and controlled by a spillway. The system is divided into 4 pressure zones and fully metered. Summer consumption is billed on meter basis, while winter billing is flat rate. There is no treated water storage for this water system. A significant portion of the supply main is 75 millimeters. And the exact alignment of the section is unknown, which present operational and maintenance challenges. Water treatment consists of chlorination and UV disinfection. However, the system does not include filtration, which is typically required for a surface water dependent systems. While turbidity monitored through a SCADA system, this remains a structural limitation of the current configuration. Originally constructed as an improvement district, the system underwent upgrade in 1991 and 2011. Despite those improvements, the fundamental limitations of the source and infrastructure remains. These structural and regulatory risks are the reasons that integration with the Cove Bay water system is a long-term solution for the Eagle Cliff. Once the interconnection is commissioned, part of the Eagle Cliff system will be decommissioned. However, I would like to plan for the decommissioning properly, and we might keep part of the system as a backup for the Eagle Cliff system. The key project within this service area is the Eagle Cliff Cove Bay interconnection. NB is currently installing approximately 1,350 meters of new water mains to physically connect the Eagle Cliff system to the Cove Bay water treatment plant. The interconnection is functional. It will provide Eagle Cliff residents with a more reliable and higher quality treated water. In 2026, approximately 1.4 million remains to be spent to complete this work. The project is supported by external grant funding, with the remaining portion financed through the authorized borrowing of up to $820,000. Along the same corridor, culvert replacement will happen. These works are funded separately through the general municipal revenues, but coordinating them with the water main is efficient. As you know, we have the contractors there, and we don't need to pay for mobilization, demobilization, just doing the repair and excavation and everything. So this gives efficiency to our system. Looking ahead to 2027, we are planning to replace the aging pressure reducing valve on Bannister Road. Once Eagle Cliff is integrated with Cove Bay, proper pressure management becomes very critical for the system. A significant long-term benefit of the interconnection is that once fully operational, the existing Eagle Cliff Dam can be decommissioned. The dam currently shows notable seepage and presents downstream risks. And this work, it is estimated at $200,000 for 2028. Again, we need to do proper costing, and we'll come to the council when times come.
Hey, thanks. Looking at the Eagle Cliff budget, I just want to preface it that it has been developed really on just a one-year basis. So things will look different once the water connection is complete and in operation. So years 2 to 5 for Eagle Cliff, I've just kind of copied the same process and carried it forward, but I do anticipate that we'll be taking a different approach to developing the budget in Eagle Cliff once that project is complete and it's commissioned and we can look at an integration of the two, Cope Bay and Eagle Cliff, similar to what we have on the west side, so. I'll just, just that caveat to talk about future years. Again, with Eagle Cliff expenses, we're very close to budget expectations. We didn't access any of the $820,000 of debt to fund the work that took place on the interconnection project. We used mostly grant funds, and for that portion that was required to be funded, we accessed Eagle Cliff's reserves to pay for that. The debt will be accessed in 2026, and at that time we'll start seeing some interest payments on that loan. That is also intended to be funded through a short-term interim financing model. The beauty of that is that it minimizes interest payments that are paid for. So anytime that we can pay for a project in a 5 or 6 year window, it's ideally the best way to get it, because the interest rates tend to be so much more lower, and the ability to make those aggressive principal repayments is really another way that helps reduce the interest paid over the life of the debt. For the parcel tax, I want to just talk about that. You see a parcel tax being charged in Eagle Cliff in 2026 is sitting at $67,580. So that's their existing parcel tax that is paid by all properties now at the moment. That's $500 per year. So once the debt has been accessed, the 800,000 or 820,000 is the maximum ceiling. Once that debt is drawn down, the annual parcel tax charge to repay that would be generating about $197,000 of revenue in order to service that debt. And that will have to be charged effective next year of 2027. Next slide, please. So for 2026, we'll keep the parcel tax at 5. Oh, I wonder if I got, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, thanks. So for 2026, we'll keep the parcel tax where it is at $500 per property. And when we access those borrowed funds in 2027, we'll access the borrowed funds in 2026, and then we'll adjust the parcel tax in 2027. The final amount of the parcel tax isn't known yet because we really are unsure. First of all, we don't have confirmed project costs finalized yet. And secondly, if indeed there are some properties along that water main that are able to connect in between Cope Bay and Eagle Cliff, then they will be paying their portion of that connection project. And that will go and immediately reduce the amount of borrowed funds required by Eagle Cliff in order to fund the cost of that project. So that parcel tax will be reduced by any amount that we are able to collect from any of those benefiting properties in between the two water districts. So that's still out there. It's still a possibility, and we don't want to. I don't want to finalize what that parcel tax is going to be until we have all those costs completed and known, and all of the inputs are known. So thanks. If you could go to the next slide. Okay. Oh, sorry. Can you go back? Just want to talk about the rate. Thanks. So within Eagle Cliff, same, looking at a 4% increase to the flat rate. That would bring the flat rate from $655 per property per year to $680 per property per year. And then the meter rates kick in for every gallon of water that is consumed. We charge beginning from 1.4 cents per gallon all the way up to 9 cents per gallon. Again, we're trying to maintain this steady increase of about 4%. We're trying to shift the cost burden to those users at the higher end of the scale and trying to reduce the burden for those who are using just using water for basic essential needs. So the same pattern in Eagle Cliff as we see on those west side systems. And thank you. Skip to.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yep.
I'm confused on the parcel tax. So how much is it going to be for 2026?
For 2026, it will stay at 500. We haven't borrowed any of the money
So
yet
this slide about increasing it to 680 is gonna have,
in 2027.
okay.
Oh, but that's the user rate, Council Morse. The user rate will change, happen this year in 2026.
User rate was that other slide.
Yes, correct.
So user rate's going,
To 680 for 2026.
oh, parcel tax, user rate is the 680.
Correct.
Okay.
So user rate means the metered rate, right? And that when you say parcel tax and flat tax, that's the same?
Parcel tax and flat tax are the same. They're just delivered on the property tax bill.
Yep.
And your user rate comes on your water bill.
And it's the metered rate.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just once the question came, I was going, do I have that right? Thank you.
Everybody's gonna get billed 680 whether they use any water or not.
Yes, that's
And
right.
then on top of that, depending on how much you use.
Consumption on top of it. Next slide, please. Thanks.
Okay, so Blue Water Park, Gwen Bay and King Edward Bay now operate physically as one integrated water system. Water is produced from groundwater wells located in both Gwen Bay and King Edward Bay. That water is currently centrally treated and stored at King Edward Bay facility, which now functions as the treatment and storage hub for the combined system. Additionally, supply is also provided from Blue Water Park. This integration significantly improves overall system resiliency. It allows us to balance groundwater extraction more effectively between well fields, improve operational stability, and reduces the risks that a single well or localized issue could disturb service to an entire area. From an asset management point of view, it also improves groundwater use efficiency and allows for better monitoring and centralized treatment control. However, while the system operates physically as one, it remains financially separated local services area, as mentioned by Kristen. Shared infrastructure such as treatment equipment and centralized facilities is funded collectively, but each local service area remains responsible for its own distribution infrastructure, including water main replacement and localized upgrades. In terms of the scale, Blue Water Park serves approximately 153 properties. Gwen Bay has 61 residential connections and very limited treated storage capacity. And King Edward Way functions as a central hub. It includes a 130,000 imperial gallons reservoir and expanded infrastructure that was completed between 2021 and 2023. Importantly, the recent upgrades were designed with future development phases in our mind. So the core infrastructure already has the capacity built in to accommodate planned growth. Overall, this integration positions the system for long-term reliability while maintaining financial fairness between the individual service areas. So the major investment that we had in 2025, we completed a $3.3 million infrastructure upgrade to address a long-standing supply shortfall in this integrated system. The project included new wells, water main replacement, and upgrade to existing well infrastructure. Together, these improvements increased overall production capacity and strengthened distribution reliability. Final wells commissioning are happening in few weeks. So, and we need to just pay for the commissioning and receiving the record drawings from engineering, and this project will be formally closed in hopefully a month or so. Looking ahead, so since this system relies on groundwater, it is considered at risk of pathogen intrusion. So as a result, Vancouver Coastal Health requires UV disinfection to be provided for the system too. Importantly, filtration is not required at this time, which is good. So we don't need to spend money on filtration. The groundwater quality meets filtration exemption criteria. In 2027, our intent is to install the UV within the existing chlorination shed at King Edward Bay and Blue Water Park. Estimated cost $275,000 for King Edward Bay and Blue Water Park. However, we should go to the market get the updated numbers by the end of 2026. We are moving to the financial increase.
Thanks. So this is the first year that we've prepared the budget for the three West Side systems together as a combined system. As Sarah said, they do remain as three separate independent local area services with their own charts of accounts, their own budgets, their own reserve funds. But for the purposes of budgeting and for the purposes of allocating costs among the three systems, we will treat them as a single system. Substantively, all of the costs are distributed equitably among all of the users. And we have set up that, that new reserve fund, which is contributed to equally by all residents in each of the service areas. Can you go to the next slide, please, Sophie? So the combined, thanks. The combined West Side system budget, it includes an equal contribution to this new shared water reserve fund. And those funds will be used to finance the renewal and replacement of capital infrastructure that's required for the supply, treatment, and storage of water. So this budgeting model is backed by the draft West Side cost allocation policy, which I brought to council in January of this year. I'm going to be bringing it back rather soon. We took it to some public consultation, received some good feedback from members of the community. So that will be coming. I just want to let you know that will be coming back to council shortly with a recovering report and to be able to see the results of the feedback. There was nothing surprising or shocking that came out of any of that feedback that we received. Next slide, please. The West Side has the same uniform rate in across all three of the systems. It's the exact same rate that we just talked about in Tunstall Bay. So we are looking to provide some progressive increases to the rate. We'll do the $10 per quarter based on the flat rate component, and then the progressively increasing increases to the metered rates. Again, somebody consuming water at about 125 gallons per day should see an annual increase of about 4.6% to their utility bill. Next slide, please. I want to take a moment to talk about the parcel taxes in the West Side system. So Blue Water Park, now that the full amount of the three, we're at 2.9 million of debt drawn upon at this point. There still remains 200,000 of debt that is available to be drawn upon, and that is to complete any of the final steps in the Blue Water project. The other piece that Sarah didn't mention was there was a component that was taken out of that project in order to fund the switchover of some connections on Captain's Way in Blue Water. We are setting aside funding in order to complete that work that will take place this year. We're getting some pricing on that from the contractor at this point. So that is why there's still $200,000 set aside to complete this project. We don't think it will cost that, but we're trying to make sure that there's some contingency. So when the full amount of debt is withdrawn. We will need to raise the parcel tax to $1,200 per year. So we will be bringing forth a parcel tax bylaw for Blue Water this year to be in place for $1,200. Currently we have an interim parcel tax in place in Blue Water for $550 per year. That's just there to cover the interest costs on this interim loan that we have. And once the project is finalized, then we will look to locking that into full long-term debt and principal payments, which will be in place for several years. As well, the project accessed $254,000 of general funds out of the Growing Communities grant. So I am suggesting that that amount be repaid according to the council resolution, directing staff to develop a repayment plan for any of those funds used out of that grant fund program. So I am suggesting that the funds be repaid over a long possible period. I'm suggesting 10 years, so that would include an annual transfer from Blue Water to the general fund of $25,000 per year, beginning in 2027. And the Blue Water Park 5-year financial plan includes that annual transfer as well. The financial plan for each of the 3 water systems are available in the report. Starting on page 47 of the report, we have Blue Water. Page 48, we have Bowen Bay, and page 49 is King Edward. So you can see the standalone water system budgets and financial plans in the report on those pages. King Edward Bay, we brought in a parcel tax in King Edward Bay beginning last year. They needed that in order to contribute and augment their reserve funds. So that has been established. We're not recommending that we make any changes to that for 2026 at this point. So we're just recommending that. And that's it. That takes us to Snapco wastewater treatment plant.
Yay. Few more slides and you're done. So this Snapco wastewater treatment plant was originally constructed in 1989 and forms the backbone of the sewer servicing in the village core. The sewer connection system includes approximately 5,300 meters of PVC sewer mains, 120 manholes, 158 inspection chambers, and 2 sanitary pump stations. The system currently serves 130 connections. These include residential properties, commercial establishments, and Bowen Island Community School, making it a critical piece of community infrastructure. In 2011, the system was expanded to accommodate growth associated with Kates Hill and Village Square. The expansion ensured the plant could handle increased demand at the time. More recently, in 2023, phase 1 upgrade were completed at the cost of $1.8 million. These upgrades improved reliability and modernized key component of the treatment process. The plant operates under a provincial discharge permit that allows up to 227 cubic meters per day, which sets the regulatory limit for the treatment effluent discharge. Overall, this is an aging but essential system that has been incrementally upgraded, but we need to work on it. So the capital projects in the Snapco sewer system, the first priority and the highest priority for us is the marine outfall replacement in this Snapco system. The revised total project budget is $1.7 million, broken down as follows. Around $320,000 is going to be for engineering. $27,000 for archaeological consulting, and $1.35 million for construction. This project is not an optional, unfortunately. This is driven by regulatory compliances and environmental protection requirements.
Is this, I heard you say the archaeological
Yes.
study, is this the first time we've had to do that kind of project?
As far as I know, this is the first time on the island we are applying for a Heritage Conservation Act. And the reason for it is that this is when we apply to the Ministry of Environment take that and consult with First Nations. And the first thing that they need as part of that permit is engaging archaeological consultant to ask for Heritage Conservation Act permit.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, that project is underway. Which slide we are in? Okay, perfect. The next slide is inflow and infiltration, or I&I reduction, which is a critical long-term priority for the Snoque Cove sewer system. In 2025, we completed the foundational investigative work required to properly understand system performance. This included CCTV inspection of the sewer mains, smoke testing to identify cross connections and inflow sources, manhole inspections, installation of flow meters to quantify the system properly, and restructuring sewer assets into manhole to manhole segments for better tracking and analysis of the system. This was an important shift. Rather than reporting to isolated failures, we are now building a full system data set. In 2026, our focus is the detailed data analysis, looking at the repairs and see what it needs to be repaired, developing a phase rehabilitation plan, and integrating the finding directly into our asset management framework. This program moves us from reactive repair to a structured, data-driven planning. It improves capital forecasting, reduces unnecessary spending, and ensures we target investments where it really needs the greatest impact. So the Snoque Cove long-term, this presents the long-term plan and solution for Snoque Cove. This is not immediate, but luckily necessary for the growth continues. The 2022 pre-design study confirmed that meaningful additional development in the Snoque Cove cannot proceed without a significant expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. The conceptual expansion would more than double the plant's current capacity. It includes new pumping infrastructure, 2 additional bioreactors, and expansion of treatment building. However, at this time, there is no funding or source of funding for this capital project. And I think before we moving directly to the expansion and spending a huge capital money on the expansion, I'm planning to work with a process engineer and a team to conduct a detailed review of the plant performance and influent and effluent, and how we can look into the process of the wastewater treatment plant and see if we can improve our capacity by looking at improving the process within the wastewater treatment plant. it's been a while that nobody looked at the process inside the plant. Based on my previous experience with designing wastewater treatment plant, I think that there are options for us to increase the capacity, not by huge doubling the capacity, no, but we can increase the capacity by looking at some improvement in our process. Again, this is in capital plan 2026 to engage the consultants to see how we can, maybe we would be able to increase the capacity by looking at the process in the wastewater treatment plant. And I think with that, we are at the rate and financial strength.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So in 2026, again, I'm looking at increasing rates by 4%. The sewer, the way it works is a little bit kind of like the way your assessment for your property taxes work. So if you paid a set amount last year and we increased the rates by 4%, you could expect to pay 4% more the next year. But unfortunately, in the sewer, the way that it works, it also requires that your consumption year over year be exactly the same as it was the prior year if you were to experience that 4% increase. And because it's also based on any particular property owner's proportional share of water usage within the district, it would also mean that the entire district had to have the same water consumption year over year. So again, the overall revenue requirement is going up 4%, but anybody's individual experience based on their actual individual water consumption could mean that their individual experience may mean that they pay far less than 4%. It may mean that they pay far more than 4%. I just want to make sure that people don't have that particular expectation. For the most part, if somebody tends to use the same level of water year over year, then on average, they can expect to experience a 4% increase in the sewer rates from year to year.
So it would be would it be an incentive for people to reduce their water consumption? And
Yes.
then their water rates and their sewer rates could go down?
Yes, because the sewer rates are billed as a function of water consumption. There's it's deemed that there is a high correlation between the volume of water into a house to the volume of water that goes out to the sewer. Of course, we can't put a meter on everybody's individual property and measure what they actually input into the sewer, but we have to make this assumption that water going into the sewer is highly correlated to the amount of water that comes into them.
I just want to be sure because it means that there is something people can do. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, reduce water consumption, and the water bills and the sewer bills will be lower. Yeah. We have a minimum flat rate in the sewer district, which because the charges are based on water consumption, we want to make sure that even for those properties where they may have been vacant for a while, because the cost of the sewer is such a significant piece of infrastructure, it comes with such massive fixed costs. We do want to make sure that some of the costs are attributed to people, even if they didn't use any water for the period. So we started with $150 minimum flat rate per billing period. And I'm suggesting that over time, we gradually begin to increase that. So for 2026, I'm suggesting that we increase that to 165 for the billing period. Next slide, please. I'll take a moment to talk about the Outfall project. So the cost of the project, as Sarah indicated, is now expected to be $1.7 million. So originally, when this project was brought forward a few years ago, it had very high level engineering costs and no consulting fees included in the project budget. So it was originally brought forward as $1.2 million. The municipality went and did a loan authorization process for users in the sewer group, and we did get approval, an authorization to borrow up to $1.2 million. So now we have this funding shortfall. I believe we can make this up by use of sewer reserve funds and through some short internal financing, some bridge financing. So in the 5-year financial plan, It's proposed that 140,529 of internal financing be advanced to the sewer district in 2027 to fund the incremental outfall costs of this project. And that amount will be repaid in 2029 and 2030 in 2 installments. Next slide, please. So the financial strategy is such that we'll use the $1.2 million of approved interim financing to fund the outfall project. And that requires interest-only payments for the time period that it's left in interim financing, so interest-only payments for up to 5 years. And once all of the internal financing to the general fund is repaid by 2030, the sewer currently has 1 internal loan to the general fund, which began in 2022 and will be complete by 2028. And now the second new one for another 140,000, which will be repaid in 29 and 2030. So all of those internal loans will be fully repaid by 2030. And at that time, then we'll be able to take the long-term the new $1.2 million debt that is external debt. It's owed to the Municipal Finance Authority. We'll be able to lock that into long-term 20-year long-term debt. And the rates and the parcel taxes are already there in order to manage that annual interest and loan principal payment. The aim here is to minimize the impact of parcel taxes and rates on people. It's currently $850 per year for property owners within the sewer district. And it's my hope that we can maintain it at $850 and not have to go any higher in order to repay these borrowed funds. The last slide just shows the 5-year plan, which shows that financial plan in place. You can see the use of internal funds in 2027. There is a transfer from the general fund for 140,529, and that is showing as being repaid in 2029 and 2030 as 2 installments of 70,260. I think that's it. That's all that I wanted to say about the Cove Sewer long-term plan. And I think that takes us to the end of the presentation. We have some time for questions. I did want to also just mention next steps in the overall financial plan development process. Next council meeting, February 23rd, you can expect a full package of the consolidated budget material in one document. And then I am going to host a budget open house available to the public on February the 26th, where I will have another slideshow presentation about all aspects of the budget and be available to answer questions, take feedback, input from the public. The budget email address is open and is monitored, and we receive feedback at that budget@binbc.ca email address as well. So yeah, if we can, we're happy to take questions. Thank you for listening.
So lots of notes to be taken. Thank you very much for the constant presentation, both on behalf of the council and the public. Councilor Wake.
Thank you. And thank you for a very comprehensive report. There's a lot in there. Just a couple of questions. On the Grafton Lake watershed, I'm wondering about the interrelationship between the watershed management plan and the water master plan, and where the aquifer study that we're, I think, contemplating. I don't know if we actually already begun it. I guess I'm worried that I hope we're going to get some answers on that before 2027. But it's shown as part of phase 2, which doesn't happen until 2027. So when will we have some kind of feedback on the long-term capacity of the aquifer, especially the ones feeding Grafton Lake?
That's a very good question. I should be honest here, the Grafton Watershed Management Plan just awarded to the consultant, and they started working on that. What we can do, we can kind of change this RFP that I'm going to work on the water master plan in a way that we can start some of the work on the aquifer in 2026 to align some of these works with the Grafton Lake Watershed Management Plan. The reason that I separated these two phases into two phases is just, you know, we do have a very sophisticated, complex water system within the municipality. And I thought that this, we won't be able to cover everything in 1 year. However, I understand the importance of the connecting the aquifer and the Grafton Lake capacity and the water master plan within the municipality water systems too. So what I can do, I can work on the RFP in a way that we can incorporate some of that work in 2026. So we would be able to decide about what we can do, even about the integration of other systems through this plan in 2026.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask another question? So on the Eagle Cliff, borrowing, of the one, I guess it, to get to 1.4 million, we're gonna borrow 800,000. Is that right?
For the balance of
Yeah.
the project,
Mhm.
the balance, yeah, and it's a significantly grant funded project. It's 73% grant funded, so the 820 represents the 27% that is attributable to the Eagle.
Right. So, we received a letter from Glenn Cormier, suggesting that the Eagle Cliff not be charged, any interest on that until the water treatment plant is fully commissioned and meets the criteria required by Vancouver Coastal Health. Although in the line above, it says water treatment plant is fully commissioned and has enough filtered and treated water to meet the demand of both systems. So my question is, what happens if we don't have the water treatment plant up to capacity by the time we have to borrow the money?
So we'll need to borrow the money quite soon. The project is well underway and then we need those funds to pay for it. We are hopeful that we will have resolution to the ongoing issues at Grafton Lake within a reasonable amount of time, and that by, you know, with over the course of the next year, that it'll be solved and we'll be able to complete the integration. That's our plan, and that's our hope. So
Cross that bridge if we come to it, if it's a problem.
we do need to draw on those funds, though. We've exhausted. I've held off on it for this exact reason. I don't want to make sure that any interest on the borrowed money is minimized. But before the end of this year, we will have to draw those funds.
I have a couple more questions, but I'll wait.
That was just the appetizer. Okay. We'll go to Councillor Jurgensen, followed by Councillor Morse. There you
Oh, sorry. Thank you as always for, great presentation and making numbers actually easy to understand. So I really appreciate that. First of all, my question for properties in the Snug Cove Sewer District area that are also in the Snug Cove Cove Bay water area that are not in the sewer district. Are those properties also calculated into the cost of the sewer, or is that only for houses that are both in Cove Bay and the sewer district?
Correct. It's only properties that are both part and connected to the sewer and that pay that parcel tax. The 850 is a connected parcel tax.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know if I addressed your question properly.
No, I believe that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dickinson. Councilor Morse.
It was to follow up on Councilor Waite's question. You asked about an aquifer study. And how does that aquifer study relate to the Grafton Lake water or the Grafton Lake management plan? Because aquifers are usually for wells, not for surface water, in my understanding.
There's a large aquifer that connects, as I understand it, to Grafton Lake. It's
You were
called-
talking about Bob Turner's.
Yeah.
Rosemary's presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we've got that sorted. Councilor Getty.
You mentioned in the Cold Bay Water District that one of the future plans, there's two that I've got questions about in terms of the, there was one 750,000 to 1.25 million increase in capacity for the, I think it was page 19. Phase 2 treatment capacity and process resilience improvements. So what is that about?
So that was what I put in the plan. So if you look at what I asked for the phase 1 and phase 2 of the water treatment plant process improvement. So first of all, we need to hire the consultant to work on a solution to increase the capacity of the water treatment plant. The capacity that we have is not meeting the requirement of the Cold Bay, neither the Eagle Cliff. So we need to work on a parallel system or pre-treatment system, something to increase this capacity. So out of that $150,000, $20,000 already being allocated to the consultant, and they are working on the intake flush design. The $130,000 is going to be for the planning of the new parallel or pre-treatment for the Cold Bay water treatment plant. And that was what I just envisioned. Again, this is order of magnitude of if there is a solution of parallel or pre-treatment to the Cold Bay water treatment plant, it likely will cost us that range of order of magnitude of funding.
Phase 2.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, the treatment capacity and process resilience improvements,
Yes.
estimate of 750,000 to 1.25 million.
Again.
So that's in
specific
addition
rate.
to the intake flushing of 150.
That's correct.
All right, so that is to increase the capacity to meet the needs of the existing system.
The Cove Bay and Eagle Cliff together.
Okay. That puzzles me because I thought that once the water treatment plant was up and running, that it met the necessary capacity. And this is talking about an increase.
Yeah, so that is what we've been struggling with. The promise by the supplier of the Cove Bay water treatment plant was that by filtering and doing this, by training, all those measures that we put in place, the capacity will increase to the amount that was promised previously. However, again, this is one way for us to solve it. I don't know if by looking into the filters, sending the module B back to Ontario, or the Ontario people come here and fix the filters if we get there. If we get there, we don't need this money. However, I predict that we would really need this money to increase the capacity.
So it's a contingency.
And with respect to the sewage treatment plant, seems to me that the expansion of that, one of the critical points in that is the basic assumptions in terms of the long-term future needs. And if what you're talking about in terms of the possibility of having some sort of improved process, possibly instead of the expansion for the plant, then is that going to allow, how much expansion would that allow? There's properties along Miller Road that have the turquoise pipes in, but they can't connect because of either the I&I or possibly improved processes inside the plant without there being this $8 million expansion with all the problems inherent in that. So will those smaller improvements allow those properties to hook up without any increased expansion to the district?
This is my hope. I cannot promise anything, but you know, the huge expansion is needed in the future for sure. But I think for few connections that we are looking at with I&I and looking into the process within the wastewater treatment plant, my hope is that we will be able to add those connections, those local connections that they already have there. The piping there.
Okay. I would suggest that before we do any further planning or research on the $8 million project, that we have some discussion in terms of what the perceived needs are for the future.
100%.
See if those need to be adjusted.
Councilor Prince.
Thank you. I just, it was a very clear presentation. I'm really glad to hear about these alternative kind of approaches to the two most significant problems that I see, which is what you just talked about, the intake flushing and stabilization for Grafton Lake, and the process improvements for the wastewater treatment. It's good to look at all alternatives from what we have already been looking at and see whether there's something good there. Otherwise, it was clear. I didn't have any more questions. Thank you.
Some questions that I have in it spark from the Cove Bay system where the water mains would need to be replaced in that Lenora-Melmore loop. And having first moved to the island and spending some time there, and it was one of the more recently repaved areas. It's just in terms of our asset management planning and some of these master plans, council's identified that we'd like to look at foundational engineering master plans. So, you know, water master plan, I know we might get into wastewater master plan, possibly drainage master plan. And so I'm curious, with all of this master planning happening, so we've talked about Grafton Lake, talked about water master planning, we talked about asset management. How are these going to talk to each other so that we're getting the sequencing right, that we're not ripping up recently done roads to replace water mains, and that it's all cogently going to come together?
That's a great question, and to be honest, it is something that we need to take into consideration and into our planning. Absolutely, when we are looking at the water master plan, we are looking at aging infrastructure, and while we are looking at the road rehabilitation, we are looking at the water infrastructure underneath that. So this year we are doing that road scanning as part of the capital plan, and Sandringham, they are starting their work sometime in March. So that the road rehabilitation, when it's happening, when we are having this new condition assessment for the roads, we are putting all those ratings into our asset management. It's a citywide, PSD citywide software. So we are putting it there. And then the water master plan will give us the infrastructure underneath those roads, which is going to go to the same asset management software. And then whenever we are looking at a culvert replacement, we are looking at a water main replacement or road rehabilitation, we are looking at these three together. If there is an opportunity for aligning water main replacement with a road and culvert replacement at the same time. So this fundamental works that we are doing this year, 2026, will form our capital priority for future years.
That's helpful. Thank you. The next question I had, it strikes me as I read the report, particularly on all the different water systems and different technologies, different, water mains, different, they just evolved independently in their own little ecosystems. And, going to consultant for a water master plan, I know that we do a lot of consulting work on each of the individual water systems, whether we've ever considered a shared services agreement with Metro Vancouver to tap into their water system expertise to answer some of these questions, and whether it would be cheaper or more effective, or a potentially ongoing relationship with a large municipal entity versus going out to consulting for all of these individual water system issues.
That's a great point. And I think it is good to consider that. However, what we are seeing right now in different systems, there are few firms that we were hiring over and over to look at these systems separately, and they are the same consultants that they are working for Metro Vancouver.
Right. Okay.
Right. So like basically this is this, and the reason that they are being involved, they have the historic information about different water systems that we have, and they continue working on these systems for us. However, I agree with you, we should look into efficiencies of hiring consultants to look at the whole system as one integrated system, rather than looking at different systems in different places. For example, if we buy a bunch of UV treatment for like 3-4 systems all together and install it all together, it's going to be less costly for us. We are not going to pay for mobilization, demobilization. All those efficiencies within the 7 water treatment plant, 7 systems needs to be considered in the future. Right now, we are so scattered. And, as a matter of fact, it was very difficult for me to put together this capital plan, considering the scattered projects all over the place. So the water master plan will bring everything together, and we will look into integration of the system where it is possible. And, it's very interesting that I've been looking at integration system in other municipalities, and there are municipalities that they started with water in like 12 different water services, and now they are integrated. So there is not this, it is possible, and this is something but it needs to be planned for the future.
That's great. And just to be on the record, I'm very, very supportive of the water master plan. I believe that we should be managing water at a whole island level, and then be plugging it into plans like, the Grafton Lake Watershed Management Plan. For some of those governance issues, for some of those, Bowen Island's a small enough economy as it is, that we should be pursuing the scale of the economy that we can, instead of having these subdivisions, because it also influences grant money coming in, right? We can only pursue grants for one system at a time, instead of a whole system like they have in Lions Bay, which is just one water district. And I would be willing to look at that as an official strategic priority of the municipality endorsed by council. So that's not just another consultant's report that sort of stays on the desk. Like, I think these foundational municipal, call them public works or engineering plans, really need to be elevated, because of the condition of our infrastructure and how, not through anybody's fault, but 50 years ago, we were cottage country sort of infrastructure, but it's just sort of how it's evolved. And we need to get to a more integrated system that's plugged into a coherent asset management plan. So thank you for the work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just following up on that, if I may, I was excited to read about the island-wide water master plan idea, also from the green infrastructure or the green asset management side of it, especially with climate change and some of the things that you mentioned were affecting water systems. and the environmental flows that we need to keep the fish and the all the different life form, the living ecosystems that help us. We need to make sure they're going to be able to persist too. So it's that whole sustainability thing. And I like your idea about bringing it into this strategic planning as something that we can really focus on next term, whatever.
Yeah, and just on that, I know that, it is a larger figure, and then there's often, my experience in presentation is often the attachment of potential grant revenue that funds things like this. I just want to signal from a seat that I would support the development of that plan any way possible, grant funded or not. I think it's something important to look at, and it needs to be looked at on the island for the sake of both infrastructure and resource sustainability. I want to look to Councilor Wake over here, who I know had some questions in reserve.
I think these are going to be quicker ones. The Carter Road Bridge water main replacement at $500,000. How long a section is being replaced for that?
That's a very good question. I think I can get back to you on the exact number. I don't want to receive from you. Just I will email it.
It just seems like a lot if it's just that one little, problem over the.
No, it's not. And the other issue with that specific area is that they need to bring the excavator and change the water main from the top, and they need to have a bunch of traffic control, and it's
Okay.
complicated in terms of the construction of that main under the bridge.
Okay.
Follow up on that one. Is the whole main under the bridge is going to be replaced?
Good point. How come Good Point has a parcel tax but no metered rates on the water?
I would say that Hood Point was one of the improvement districts that we inherited in 2003 when we became responsible for the improvement districts. Hood Point had a parcel tax in place to fund a significant capital upgrade that they did. And I think the direction from the Hood Point trustees at the time was to continue that parcel tax because we want to put money away in reserves for future needs. And my experience with the local area service committee has been such that they have always been proactive and thinking forward, looking at making sure that there was money set aside for people.
So parcel tax is going to look after it, and we're not trying harder, or they don't have challenges about the amount of water usage. I presume we still want water conservation there, but.
Yeah, Hood Point also is a different structure that each property has a license to Honeymoon Lake, whereas most water systems, the license for the water is held by the municipality on behalf of all residents for that water. Hood Point is a little bit different in that every individual property owner has their own license to extract water from Honeymoon Lake.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's different.
Okay. And lastly, you mentioned the UV installations for blue water in King Edward Bay. Why was there such a difference there in terms of the King Edward Bay costs were much higher than blue water?
I believe blue water is able to fit within the existing shed and infrastructure there, and King Edward Bay is not. Is that right? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So just following up on the comment about doing things together. So all these dark treatments that are gonna have to be put in, gonna do them, you bid them out as one contract?
This is my preference, and we need to plan for it in 2027. Most of this can be done all together.
Just a last question about granting that I forgot to ask. So I noticed that multiple systems are pursuing grants through different programs like Eco Action FCM, HAF, and just coming back to the water master plan, I'm curious whether there is some sort of strategy that's possible to pursue or to position the water master plan as an umbrella that all those grants could come under, so that we can sort of start pursuing grants as a whole island instead of individual systems, and use the development of the water master plan to do that.
That's correct. So what we mentioned in the Water Master Plan grant, there are two grants that we are pursuing, and we worked hard on both grants. As a matter of fact, one of the grants, they asked us questions, which we are hopeful that it means that we met to the next round of the grant. So and the other one is the Eco Action grant. So these two grants are specifically pursued to create the Water Master Plan, and they're like, when we have the Water Master Plan as a whole, we can pursue the provincial and federal grants better and with aggressive way of showing the project, showing the future. So when I was working on the Eco Action Plan or FMC grants, it was a lot of work to find the foundations and, to put things together for future. However, through this master plan, we will create that foundational work that we can put forward in the future grants for the provincial and federal grants coming up.
I'm not seeing any further questions. I think, oh, yes.
One more.
Eco Action is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities grant. And what's the other application that's in?
It's FCM Green Municipal Fund.
Oh, right, okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw that. Thanks.
Okay. So this has been great. It's been incredibly detailed. I think it's useful both for council and public. I'm seeing the fruits of our labors in terms of bringing water rates together, starting to look at a whole island management, the themes of, what's starting to come online now that we have some asset management planning, the absolute appreciation for starting to plan things proactively instead of reactively. I think that's a real core principle in the municipality. And I look forward to seeing where this goes. So thank you. And with that, I'll look for a motion to receive.
Are there any questions from the public?
We'll receive the report and then we've got a question period on the agenda. Moved by Councillor Fast, seconded by Councillor Lake. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that carries unanimously. Oh, Councillor Saunders, nice to hear your dulcet tones on the line.
I've been here the whole time. I just keep it quiet today.
Okay, that concludes staff reports. We'll move to question periods. A question period is an opportunity for members of the public to request clarification or ask a follow-up question relating to an item discussed at the meeting. Questions must relate to an item on the agenda and they must be directed to the mayor. Questions are limited to 2 questions per speaker and must not exceed 3 minutes total. Look to get the gallery and online for any questions that folks might be wanting to ask. Yes.
So I'm assuming this is just a historical anachronism, but why would the different water systems use different meter rates? Why are some cubic meters? Why are some gallons?
I will direct that to staff who's done an incredible amount of work over the years and been working with the meter rates.
Yes, I'll just answer that by the water systems were never managed by a central area before. The municipality inherited them in 2003. They inherited Bowen Bay, Good Point, Tunstall Bay, Blue Water Park. Cove Bay came with incorporation. So we acquired these water systems from different bodies prior, and none of those bodies talked to each other before. So some would make the decision to install meters, some would say, no, we're just going with flat rate. There was just a big mix and a big difference of opinion about how water should be billed, and we have it's taken us this long to get this far to try and incorporate and bring some continuity among the systems. Some have cubic meters and others have imperial gallons. The cost to go around and replace meters is quite prohibitive, and given all of the other infrastructure challenges that are needed, it is difficult to justify, oh, let's go replace the meters and make them all cubic meters. Personally, and this is just my preference, I like to talk about consumption in gallons because a jug of milk, a gallon of milk is representative to somebody, they know how much water that is, whereas if I say a cubic meter, it's a little bit harder to, think about my personal consumption when I'm talking cubic meters. And I just think to personalize it for people, I do tend to use gallons because it's just more livable.
I saw, Councilor Moore's itching as well,
Well,
and with her history on water committees.
It's just when you measure in cubic meters, a huge amount is only 3 cubic meters. So it doesn't sound like you're using much. Where you talk about gallons, that huge amount turns out to be 600 gallons. So that little amount turned out to be 600 gallons. So it's more effective in controlling consumption as well.
Yes.
Just a follow-up.
Now.
As a follow-up, so I mean, obviously I agree with you on cubic meters. But would it not make, regardless of whether the meters themselves are reading in gallons or cubic meters or whatever, would it not make a lot of sense for the municipality, since that's simply just a translation from one measurement to another measurement, to standardize on a measurement so that in these charts, those water rates can be apple to apple comparisons without each member of the municipality having to go and do those translations. So regardless of whether the meters themselves, and not changing out meters, that makes a lot of sense, just simply standardize as a municipality, we are going to equate these always in liters or gallons or cubic meters or what have you. Simply for making sense of the consumption. Right.
Certainly the information could be displayed that way. I would bring the bylaws back and I would write the bylaws based on what the meters are in any particular system, because it makes input and processing in our ERP system easier and less prone to mistakes, and people don't have to do that translation and put in a different number than what's on the bylaw. But certainly for a communication purpose, I could write the bylaw in cubic meters and also write the equivalent in gallons per so yeah.
And I would assume, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these all arose in local service areas where residents were used to getting the meter readings and whatever unit they had at the time. So this being an information sort of meeting for those local users as well, that's, I would assume, one of the reasons why we've listed the gallons versus and liters, and whatever someone's been used to locally. Yes, Mr. Ritchie.
Oh, thank you. Question for Sarah. I guess this is partly a selfish question. Snow Cove House. I'm intrigued by your talk of improving the efficiency of the wastewater treatment plant. Snow Cove House has to make a decision very soon on whether to spend $600,000 on a high-tech septic field. From the point of view of the municipality, once we're on a septic field, we're not going to give that up for 30 years. So you've lost 24 units plus commercial kitchen outflow plus commercial laundry outflow for 30 years. So I think it's in all of our interest to expedite this efficiencies of which you speak. So good luck with that.
Started as a question. Was there
a question?
Was there a question in there or?
The question is, what's your timeline on improving the efficiency of the wastewater treatment plant?
Ms. Cassari.
So through the mayor, this is a great question, and I have to plan for it. Right now, I received some of the Reiki hour from a consultant who worked on the Yorkshire wastewater treatment plant as well for process engineering. I received that, and I'm working on a contract. So this is something that it's in my plan to do, and hopefully, like we are in Q1, by Q2, I can have some results, like some preliminary result that if we can add even 24 units to the system or not. Again, this is just improvement in the system for the properties that they already have pipes in place. I'm not very hopeful about, adding a big development like it's not close to the system, but again, I will look into it for sure.
So that's with the INI and these efficiencies inside the plant.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Within 30 years.
All right.
Sorry.
Within 30 years.
Not seeing any further questions, so I'll move to adjournment. Moved by. Okay. Online questions. Moved by Councilor Wade, seconded by Councilor Fast. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.